So if you are someone who is new to the world of freelancing, or you're thinking about starting a small business or a side hustle alongside your day job, then you're probably thinking about how would you actually go about registering as a business? And that question, do you register as a sole trader? Do you register as a limited company? So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the pros and cons of both being a sole trader and being a limited company, and what they kind of mean, starting off with some really simple definitions. This video is sponsored by Awesome, a one-stop service covering multiple needs from company incorporation to accounting and bookkeeping. So whilst there are loads of different ways that you can register as a business, so you can register as a partnership, you can register as, things other than a sole trader and limited company, more often than not, the question that I get is, should I register as a sole trader or limited company? And that is coming from kind of like a freelancing point of view. I am a freelance photographer, and a lot of my audience are also freelancers. So most of the people that ask me this question are freelancers, but it really doesn't matter if you are a e-commerce business, a freelancer. It doesn't really matter what kind of business you run. Most of the time, one of these two business models will suit you. Before we start today's video, I do want to throw in a little bit of a disclaimer that you can use this video as guidance, but as always, I do recommend doing your own research. I'm going to put some links to appropriate sources in the description so you can kind of get a bit of a head start on that. But this is just guidance, so definitely do your own research before making any big decisions. So let's start with some really simple definitions. So a sole trader is someone who is an exclusive owner of a business. So this means that the business is owned and controlled by one person, and this person essentially has unlimited personal liability because they are seen as the same entity as their business. They are one. So as a sole trader, you are self-employed, you are employed by yourself, and registering is just you telling HMRC, if you're in the UK, that you are a sole trader, that you are employed by yourself. So when we are talking about being a sole trader, we're talking about being personally liable, exclusively liable for your business. And liable essentially means legally responsible for. So when you are a sole trader, you are the only person who is liable for that business's finances. So whilst you get to keep all the profits, you also have to pay all of the taxes, all of the debts, etc. That's all liable to you. As I said before, you and your business are not separate entities in this situation. You're the same. So if your business goes into debt, you are expected to use your own personal finances to, recover that money. And sole trading is often very popular with freelancers. So, graphic designers, photographers, models, anyone that kind of runs a business where they are the business, you tend to find that they are registered as a sole trader, but not exclusively. So we will come on to, why you might choose to opt to be a limited company instead of a sole trader. A limited company refers to a private company, which is essentially a different entity to yourself. So in terms of liability, you're only liable for whatever money you've put into a business, and a business is controlled by usually a few different people, and those different people each have usually an equal share of a company. So for example, if I wanted to start a company with two other people, we would all put in the same amount of money, and we'd all have the same amount of share in the company, and we are liable to that share that we have of the company. Let's talk about some of the pros, some of the cons of registering your business as a sole trader. So one of the really obvious advantages to being a sole trader is that you're the only person in control. You don't have any other stakeholders or directors that you have to answer to. So you can control in which direction your business goes in. You have more ownership, I guess is the best term, for your business. Another great thing about registering as a sole trader is that it's really simple. There's not really that much information that you actually have to give HMRC. It's quite a self-explanatory process. You essentially only have to register for a self-assessment, which is what you do at the end of the tax year to tell the taxman how much money you've earned, all about your expenses, all of that stuff. And similarly, because you don't actually have to register with Companies House, your details aren't publicly accessible. So we will get onto that a little bit later, but essentially when you register with Companies House, if you're a limited company, people can have access to your name, your address, all of your directors' names, addresses, all of that stuff. So definitely setting up as a sole trader, you do have more privacy. When we talk about ease as well, another thing that is great about being a sole trader is, it's really easy to set up, but it's also really easy to change your mind. So, if you don't want to be self-employed anymore, if your business kind of collapses or however it comes to be, you just basically need to tell HMRC that you're no longer self-employed, you're going to be employed now. It's a lot easier than going through the whole process of dissolving your company if it is a limited company. So what are the disadvantages? So, with full ownership comes full responsibility. Everything is on you, and that can be quite a daunting experience. So, if you do decide to hire staff, for example, employ people, then their wages being paid are down to you. It's your responsibility, it's no one else's. And similarly, because you're not a separate entity, you are one the same as your business. So if those wages can't be paid and your company doesn't have that money, you are expected to front that money. I said it before, but you're not viewed as separate. So if your company does get in debt, then you get in debt as well. So all of your personal assets are on the line if for whatever reason, your company gets into debt. Similarly, it can be harder to access finance. So if you want more financing options, loans, etc., it can be more difficult as a sole trader than, if you had a business, if you had a limited company. So for example, if your personal credit score is not great, then you're not really going to be able to find that many options available for you in terms of securing finance for your business if you're a sole trader. And I have spoken before about, physically, like in terms of your bank account, separating your finances, even if you are a freelancer, if you're a sole trader, separating your finances from your business and your personal, in my video about managing money. And I do think that's really important. But what is to note is, you can put your business finances in one account and you can put your personal finances in another account. But your personal assets are still at risk if your business is in risk. Just because you have separated them, that is more of a money management thing. That is not protecting your finances. So let's talk about limited companies. So as I said, a limited company is a company that is separate from the identity of its owner or its directors. It has its own legal identity, so we can kind of, think of it as almost like another person. And because it's another person, any contracts, any kind of debts that you acquire, that becomes, the responsibility is on the company, not on you. So if you were, and I'm not saying you will, but if you were to run into financial trouble and you would set up as a limited company, then you wouldn't be expected to sell your own personal assets to front that debt. But similarly, whereas when a sole trader earns money, that money belongs to the person. When a limited company earns money, that money belongs to the company. So for example, if my photography business was set up as a limited company, then, when I do a wedding, when I do a shoot, when I make any money that I make, that money then belongs to the company. And I can choose for, the company to pay me a salary, pay me dividends, but there is an extra step between kind of your client or your customer and you receiving the money because it's got to go via your company, I guess. So in terms of pros, having that separate entity can be an extra layer of protection. It does mean that if you do get into debt, your personal assets can't be seized. So that is a big pro. Another pro is that your legal ownership of your business name is granted if you are a limited company. So for example, if I ran a shop, a florist, and I was called Sophia's Florist and I was a sole trader, someone else could still trade under the name Sophia's Florist. But however, if I was a limited company and I registered my company as Sophia's Florist, then that name is protected, so no one else can trade within the realms of that name. It is important to note that if you are a sole trader, you can still register your company name. It's just not done automatically. So like we said about financing options, being a limited company, you are likely to have access to larger financing options, which means that you can put more money into your business. Essentially, you can get more grants, more loans for your business. And as well, being a company, being a limited company, being whatever your company is limited, does kind of add a level of credibility to your company. So, if you are applying for things, if you are kind of, I guess even if you're working with clients and stuff like that, it can be seen as more professional and more credible to be a registered company than it would be to be yourself, I guess. I suppose that does really depend on what field you're in. As a freelancer, I like the fact that my company is me. You're dealing with me, so I am the business. But if I had a clothing business, a clothing brand, then maybe I'd want that kind of level of credibility to make it not seem like me running something out of my bedroom. Another pro of being a limited company is that you are often subject to better tax rates. So for example, you'll pay 19% corporation tax, whereas as a sole trader, you kind of pay an income tax. So you're paying that, anywhere from like 20 to 40%. In terms of the cons of being a limited company, like we were speaking about privacy before, you do have less privacy. Your details will be on Company's House where people can access those details. There is a little bit more complexity in setting up as a limited company as well. And on the topic of registering your business, that is where today's sponsor comes in very nicely. So Awesome is a one-stop service covering multiple needs from company incorporation to accounting and bookkeeping. Awesome can provide you with a dedicated accountant, and they're fully able to integrate with platforms such as Xero. And that basically means, whether you're a freelancer and a sole trader like I am, or you are an e-commerce business and registered as a limited company, Awesome are perfect in helping you register your business. They are great in helping you manage your finances, managing your accounts, sorting all that paperwork that does come with running your own business. And very kindly, they have offered me a link and a code to offer you guys a discount if you do want to use their services. So I'm going to put the link in the description, but the code is SOF100, and you can get yourself £100 off of your first month of Awesome services. And that's for their monthly packages, or you can get yourself £50 off of their mini annual accounting package. So I'm going to link that in the description. The code is SOF100. I'll put it on screen. And again, everything is linked in the description. But if the whole accounting, the whole registering business and all of that stuff is a little bit overwhelming for you, Awesome is a great service. They mix automation, but with like a human touch. So you can get access to a dedicated accountant, and they're great at doing all of that paperwork that I know a lot of us don't want to deal with. So when we are talking about registering a company, there are also other things to note. So as a sole trader, it is free to register your company, register yourself as a sole trader. That doesn't cost anything. It's really easy. It's free. You can do it online. However, as a limited company, there are different fees involved. So you'll need to do this through Company's House, and the fees kind of vary depending on how you want to register, the speed in which you need to register, and all of that stuff. And like I said, there is a lot more paperwork involved in being a limited company. So let's quickly have another look at the pros and cons of being a sole trader versus being a limited company. So in Sole Traders Corner, we have got the ease and the cost of registering as a business. So it is free, it is easy, it is simple, there's not as much paperwork. With being a sole trader, we also have that you have more privacy because you don't have to register all those details with Company's House. Over in the corner for being a limited company, however, we have a better tax rate, better tax relief. You have limited liability, so not all of your personal assets can get seized if you run into financial difficulty. And we also have, the protection of your trading name, and that comes with registering as a business. So I am personally registered as a sole trader. As I said, I am a freelancer. My business is me. There aren't other directors, there aren't other stakeholders and shareholders. So at this point in my career, my personal business is registered as a sole trader. If you are a freelancer, you might want to think about setting up as a sole trader, as it is a little bit easier, and the chances are as a freelancer, there's no one else kind of involved in your business. However, if you are setting up a business that is an e-commerce business or something of that sort of business, then you might want to look at registering as a limited company and starting off as you mean to go on, because then of course you can introduce other shareholders, other stakeholders, other directors. You can apply for more financing and all of that stuff. But that's all from me today, guys. Let me know what you think. Are you a sole trader? Are you a limited company? Or have you not set up your business yet? Are you still thinking about doing that? Let me know in the comments. And if you have any questions, of course, drop me a message. Again, I'll be linking some relevant links in the description of today's video, alongside the links to Company's House, alongside the link to registering as a sole trader, and of course, alongside the link to my lovely sponsors over at Awesome. remember to click the link in the description and use SOF100 to grab your discount. Remember, you can check out all the other episodes of Work Edition over on my channel if you are interested in the freelance, the business, the financial side of being a creative freelancer. But I will see you guys in the next one.